Check. 1, 2.
The Debrief. This is the Debrief.
Go. Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the Debrief.
Hello, and welcome to a very special edition of the Debrief. I'm your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
And I'm Becky Scarcello.
And here's what we're doing. And we've been planning this for a while now. Yeah. I'm excited about this episode.
We've been excited ever since we had the idea, and it's great to see it all come together.
So normally on Thursdays, we do an in-depth interview with somebody in the arts and entertainment community here in the city of Detroit. But this week, what we're doing, because it is, of course, Thanksgiving as this episode is being released, and then everybody goes shopping for Black Friday
season.
And then there's Small Business Saturday and all that. And everybody's concerned with what they're getting everybody else for gifts, right? That and football.
Oh, yeah. And leftovers.
And leftovers. And the parade.
Oh, yeah.
And running. But we're focusing on the gifts.
And, you want to, up your game. Detroit has so many great things. Let's make it special. Those important people in your life, you want to get something different, something unique.
Right. Because, look, Amazon had their chance. They could have been a local business. They are not.
They blew it.
Right. They blew it. So we want to support local businesses. We want to help you support local businesses. So what we did is we called upon our friends here at the Debrief, who brought a bunch of our regulars in and asked them for suggestions.
Yep. All our local experts, our friends of the pod.
Yes. So you're going to hear from a lot of them today. They're going to give us some gift recommendations. Of course, you can always go over to our website, thedebriefdetroit.com, and you can find a list with links to a lot of the places that they mentioned.
They were going to mention,
episode. And they're great places to go shopping.
It's basically going to create your shopping go-to list for you.
Yeah, and it's a great way to spend a day out in the city of Detroit.
That too.
All right. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get into it.
This is the Debrief.
All right, Becky. Well, if there's one person that we've got to check in with and ask her about her gift recommendation, it's our good friend Bailey Sisoy Iskra.
I'm sure she'll have a good list. Yeah.
Bailey, are you there?
I'm here. How are you?
Good. How are you? This is Bailey, of course, from the Detroit History Club and Detroit History Tours. She knows everything about the city of Detroit and what happened back before we all got here.
Exactly.
And, Bailey, I think one of the things, I'll put it on the recommendation for people who have kids, is you actually put out a book this year, a children's book, right?
I did. Thank you.
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's adorable.
This is about Rosie the Riveter. Tell us a little bit about the book.
It's called Rosie, A Detroit Her Story, and it is the true story of the hundreds of thousands of women who became known as Rosie the Riveters during World War II. And although Rosie the Riveter was a national icon, she really centered here in Detroit, and the story sort of covers Lend-Lease and World War II and Etzel Ford and all of these incredible women who built the planes and tanks and cars that helped the Allies win World War II. It's from Wayne State Press. It's at Target and Meijer and Barnes & Noble, or right at waynesstatepress.edu.
Nice. And what age is this book appropriate for?
Little kids are going to like the illustrations. It's beautifully done by an artist named Nicole LaPointe. All the way up to adults. It's sort of a primer in all that World War II knowledge that can be a lot of fun for the drunk uncle who's babysitting.
Okay.
That's me you're talking about there,
How'd you know, Seth the drunk uncle?
I will admit, I don't actually know that much about Rosie the Riveter, so this would probably be good. Well, that's fantastic. So that's out there. Where can people go get it?
Amazon, Target, Meijer, Barnes & Noble, City Bird. It's at Pure Detroit. Anywhere fine books are sold is what I'm supposed to say.
Yes.
Awesome. And what about for, anything you didn't write yourself that you would recommend? What do you get in other
around
people?
town? Things made in Detroit or sold in Detroit.
Oh, my gosh. So I actually pulled up my Christmas list because I'm the organized nerd who's done my shopping already.
You're already on it. Wow.
So this year I am giving a lot of Carhartt stuff. Carhartt is one of my favorite companies. They've been in Detroit over 100 years. They're still in Detroit. And I have Carhartt stuff that is high school level old for me. I've been wearing this stuff for 15 years and it doesn't fit quite the same, but it still looks perfect. So one of my favorite things this year is the Carhartt Sherpa blanket. Have you seen this thing?
I have. Oh, it's so cozy.
Oh, it's so cozy, and you don't have to worry about knowing anyone's size, and it's like great for camping or apple orchards. It's good all year. I love it. I buy a lot of Carhartt zip-ups for the guys in my life because they're good for everything. My favorite hostess gift when you get invited to a party and you don't know what to take, I go see Alex at Bon 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 and take a box of their custom-made chocolates. No one doesn't like chocolate.
Oh, and they're beautiful too.
Aren't they? And they're so unique in the flavors.
Yes.
And if you pair that with a 6-pack of beer from Batch Brewing, who's now selling their beer in cans for the first time.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah, they just did it. Just started doing it.
They just started. So you go see Steven and Matt at Batch, and you get a 6-pack of beer, and then you go see Alex at Bon Bon Bon, and you get a box of bonbons, and you are everyone's favorite guest at any party you go to.
For sure, especially if you get those potato chip ones. They do a chocolate with crushed up Better Maids on them.
This is the chocolate, not the beer.
Maybe the beer too, but I know about the chocolate.
I wouldn't want potato chips floating in my beer.
No.
Sometimes it gets that way anyway, and it usually means that I need to shave.
That sounds delicious, though. It's like that salty sweet. I'm all over the salty sweet.
And me too.
Well, those are some awesome suggestions. You got another one? You got more?
Yeah, I've got one more because I'm a big fan of experiences over items for gifts.
Oh gosh,
so
yes.
For my favorite people, the people I really, really like, this year I've bought them experiences. And my favorite one is a dinner event at the Shady Ladies Literary Society. It is this wonderful organization that brings in aspiring female authors from all over the country, has them present their debut novel, pairs them with a female chef and a female bartender, and cultivates this really magical night. It's truly something special. You have to buy them online at shadyladiesliterarysociety.com. But anyone I've ever given that gift feels like they should buy me all sorts of nice things in return.
Okay, so we'll know if you really like us if that appears in our stocking.
Yes. So
I'll take you with me anytime, Becky.
All right. I would love to. I heard a friend of mine just went recently, and she just adored the whole experience.
I gave it to my mom, and my mom is one of the hardest people to shop for because she has everything.
Right.
And she called me the next day and just could not stop talking about it. From the food and to the signed copy of the book you get, to meeting the author and having a cocktail designed around the story. She just can't stop talking about it.
And you can get these tickets online. Do you know the URL? Because I feel like this is the type of thing where if you typed in the wrong URL, you're going to wind up someplace that
you don't want to be.
That you don't want to be.
Oh, a different kind of shady lady?
Yes.
Yep, Shady Lady Literary Society.
Shady Lady Literary Society. Got it.
The literary part is important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Bailey, thanks so much for checking in. We love having you on. And these are some great suggestions.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for including me in your holiday shopping.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Welcome to the D.
Brave.
All right, we have on the line Steve Johnson of Motor City Brew Tours. He's also the author of the book Detroit Beer, A History of Brewing in the Motor City. And of course, Steve, we're looking for a gift recommendation, something that you would buy somebody for the holidays, preferably something that's from the Detroit area.
Local gifts.
What, you got anything in mind?
Yeah, I got a really fun gift idea for the beer lover in your life. And it's Batch Brewing Company in Corktown.
I love that place.
A kind of a monthly gift called the Expansion Pack. And what it is, it's kind of the 4-pack of the month club, Batch Brewing style. And they're going to can it looks like they're going to can 4 12-ounce beers a month only for people who are members of this club. So you can't go to the tasting room and just try them. You can only get it if you join the Expansion Club. So you should be sending this link to whoever's going to buy a gift for you so they can get this.
That's a good idea.
Program.
Put it on the wish list.
Well, and that place is great, not only because of the beer, but also the food there
Is top notch.
is amazing. I mean,
it's really good.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I were talking just the other day. We're like, maybe we should go back just for the food.
Oh
'cause
yeah,
it's
not just pretzels and cheese dip.
Yeah, no, I love
No,
that
they have
place.
a real chef doing real things in there, and they love
Tasty.
to pair it with their beer. So it's a good compliment in there.
All right, that's a good gift recommendation.
That's really good.
Yeah, I like that. And of course, we should mention that you have gift certificates as well, right?
Most definitely. It's something that I've been doing really since I started the company, but you can get any different dollar increment of a Motor City Brew Tours gift certificate, and it's good on any of the events that we do. I also sell the book online through the website, and we sell gift certificate book packages that come with a koozie and a sticker and other good things like that. you can see all that on our website at motorcitybrewtours.com.
And if somebody's never been on a Motor City Brew Tour, what happens? Is this driving? Is this walking? Is this biking?
It's all of that and more. So we offer guided bus, bike, and walking tours to basically Detroit, Metro Detroit, and other parts of the state breweries. And you go on a tour, you get to taste things, you go hang out with the brewers, you might get fed along the way, and you get the whole VIP treatment on one of our tours. Our bike tours are a little different. You learn about history of the city on a bike tour, and then you drink and eat at the end. And then we do 3 events a year with the Detroit Princess River boat, where we do a private beer tasting on our own floor, and you typically can try 40 local and regional beers and some hard cider and have food on those events. So we'll offer a couple dozen, at least, probably 50 public tours next year, all of which those gift certificates are good for.
That's great.
Yeah.
For the person that's maybe a little hard to buy for, but they would like an experience. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right, cool, Steve. Thanks for checking in.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
The D3.
I like this, Becky.
I love it. I know.
We should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah, right?
This getting all these gift recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
We're having a bunch of our regulars call in, people who have contributed to the show. One of the guys who's been on the show before is the chief storyteller for the city of Detroit. I do believe that we are the only city, certainly the only
Seems
major
to be.
city with a storyteller. He also runs the website theneighborhoods.org, which talks a lot about what's going on in the neighborhoods in Detroit, especially because we hear so much about Midtown and we hear so much about downtown, but there's a lot of
right.
other things going on in the city of Detroit.
It's good stories.
And he's the author of a book, which I highly recommend. I read this book when I first got to Detroit 3 years ago, and it seriously shaped the way I think about the city of Detroit quite a bit. It's called How to Live in Detroit Without Being a Jackass. The second edition is now
Just came out.
So welcome the author of that book back to the show, Aaron Foley. Aaron, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're
What's up?
Good. Thanks for joining us. So
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
So you know what we're doing here. You know the drill. We are asking for gift recommendations for people for this holiday season. Things that are local.
Shopping local.
Yeah, what do you got?
All right, so it's funny. I'm having kind of like a wine and cheese party this week because so many people are in town for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, I need some like local stuff to kind of like welcome people back home. So to make, there's gonna be a lot of drinks, a lot of people drinking local beers like Bell's and Atwater and stuff like that. But I have these coasters from Woodward Throwbacks. They're a local company here that they're in Corktown. That's where their showroom is. And then they take a lot of reclaimed wood and make all types of things from it. So they make coasters, they make furniture, they make all these decorative items. And I got it at Pure Detroit. So that's number one on my list.
I like those. I actually have Detroit coasters, and they're just a really cool decorative thing. I mean, it's small, but it makes a difference.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And then another thing is, so I have a cat. And owning a cat, it can be a little bit smelly, and I try my best to keep the smell of kitty litter and the things that go in it out of my house. So the other thing I definitely had to go back to Pure Detroit, Firebrand candles. I always plug Firebrand because I went to high school with the owner of the. Yeah, so Firebrand, they're also sold at Pure Detroit, and they come in like what they do is every scent is named after a Detroit street. So you have Mount Elliott, Jefferson, Park Avenue, all of those different type. Like there's a Finkel candle. I want to say there's an 8 Mile candle. There's a Woodward candle, and they all represent different streets. So like some have a more like masculine scent, and so like Jefferson Avenue, for example, is supposed to be like muscle cars because people go up and down the strip to Belle Isle, and then you have more feminine scents like Park Avenue because it's like supposed to be a little bit more high end and stuff like that. But they're all made here in Detroit. They're all sold at Pure Detroit. I love them. They last a really, really long time. Like you know how some candles you get them from like the dollar store or something like that. they don't last. Like like it's a soy candle, so they last forever.
It's more environmentally friendly too.
Whose job is it to figure out the gender identity of every single one of these streets? That sounds very controversial.
That's not a real job, but that might be my next job.
I was going to say, yeah, maybe your sunset
Where do
career.
you go from storyteller? It's like
Yeah, scent namer.
street identifier.
I should note too that both those companies you mentioned, you can see around town at these different holiday markets. I know they've been at like the Pony Ride holiday market and things like that too. So you'll see them around town with these pop-up things.
Today, like me and my team at the neighborhoods, we were going to all of these different places, trying to lead up to Small Business Saturday. So we just went to a ton of small businesses on the east side, the west side, and southwest Detroit. And one of my team, Kinsey Clark, went to Arts and Scraps on the east side of Detroit. And one thing I did not know about them is Arts and Scraps is a place where people donate like paint. Like, I've got a ton of paint samples I need to give to them. Like, you know how you get paint samples from like Lowe's or somewhere, and they give you that tiny little thing. Like, they'll take that and make stuff out of it, like aid cartons, all the type of stuff that like you donate for arts and crafts. Well, they take in a lot of leather goods, like a lot of leather scraps, and they make pocketbooks out of them. So they make these really, really nice, and you can get them monogrammed too. They make these really nice zipper pocketbooks for, anybody that needs like a new wallet or a coin purse or something along that line. And I had no idea that they did those. I thought they just did like all types of other stuff. But no, they look like little Coach or Dooney and Burke or Shinola level craftsmanship there. So that's something else I got to like stop by there and see like if they have one for my mom or something like that.
And I love that you brought them up because they commented on our Instagram that they listened to our podcast, the people over at Arts and Scraps.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so I'm glad that you put that together too, because I think a lot of people wouldn't think about goods that they have for sale.
Yeah, these are great suggestions, Aaron. I would be remiss if we didn't also mention your book. So the second edition is now out, How to Live in Detroit Without Being a Jackass. For people who haven't read it yet, tell them what it's all about.
So the first edition came out in 2015, and it just kind of gave this rundown of like, if you're new to Detroit, if you just moved here, or even if you lived here for some time, it's my love letter to Detroit. But I also want to let people know that Detroit's not a blank canvas or a blank slate, and there are plenty of neighborhoods beyond downtown and midtown, and these are all the different kinds of people you might want to meet and things like that. But also some of the pitfalls that can befall. Is that a word? Befall.
I think it is, yes. I think
it is now, yeah.
We'll have to go to dictionary.com and see.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's ask Dan Gilbert if that's a real word. But no, some of the things that can happen, like as far as restoring a house or trying to start a business, all of these things that like me or someone close to me have done, and I just try to give advice on that. So a lot of things in Detroit have changed in the last 3 years. When I first wrote the book, there was no Q Line, there was no Little Caesars Arena, there was no Ford Motor Company buying the train station. All of these different things that happened in the last 3 years. Mike Ilitch had passed away, Aretha Franklin had passed away. All these things did not exist in 2015, so I had to update it because the original version was very quickly getting out of date, and we literally, like me and my publisher, like waited until like the last minute, because the final thing we changed before we had to go to print was whether Aretha Franklin was going to make it or not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we were running up against the deadline, and of course we were all hoping that she would pull through, but she didn't, so we had to go and make that one slight tweak. But that was the last thing, and hopefully nothing else happens. It's out there now. It came out in October. It's available at Pure Detroit. I love them. But also, Source Booksellers and Pages Bookshop and Barnes & Noble and all of the local booksellers. I have to shout all of them out. I'm probably going to forget one or two, but, the local bookstores have just been so good to me and supporting this and getting the word out there, getting the book out there. I always say shop local. Not just my book, so many other Detroit books out there too.
Book Beat over in Oak Park.
Yeah, and people will recognize the book because if you look at the cover, it's green with the Werner's lettering.
Well, I think the new cover is cream colored, right?
Oh,
yeah.
You changed it for the second edition.
Yeah, so I was trying to think of, we were going back and forth as far as what the second edition should look like, and should it look like a Better Made thing? And we were like, no, because Karen Davis already has a Better Made book out.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, could it be Faygo? And I was like, no, Joe Grimm has a Faygo book coming out. And I was like, well, why don't we just stick with the Vernors theme? And so, there's regular Vernors and there's diet Vernors. And I was like, okay, well, if people recognize what a regular Vernors looks like, then they could know what a diet Vernors look like. But then people got confused and they're just like, well, if it's a diet label, does that mean it's smaller? I'm like, no, we just
light version?
wanted the same. So
yeah,
that's how that came about.
Well, for your third edition, if you're looking for something, you could use the Debrief logo.
Yes.
Because I'm sure it'll be much more recognizable by then.
It's just an old English D. It's not.
I was going to say, if there's something that's very quickly becoming recognizable outside of Detroit, it's got to be the old English D. So we'll see.
Okay.
Well, awesome. Erin, congratulations on the new edition of the book, and thanks for checking in. These are great suggestions.
Awesome.
And, of course, happy holidays.
This is the Debrief.
Detroit.
All right, you ready for another gift recommendation, Becky?
Sure am.
Well, we've got another one of our favorite people. We've had a lot of people who have been regular guests on the show this year. And so we decided to invite them all back to make a gift recommendation, local business, local service, something like that. One of our favorite people on the show is Ann DeLisi, who hosts Essential Music on WDET every Saturday and Sunday morning. Ann, how are you?
I'm doing great, you guys. How are you?
We're good. We're good. You always have such great ideas about everything going on around town, so we knew you'd be perfect for this, too.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple of things I wanted to share with you guys. One is the Sister Pie cookbook. So you don't hear a lot of cookbooks being made here in the Motor City. And Lisa Ludwinski, who started Sister Pie back in 2015, has now made it to the New York Times. And her book called Sister Pie is selling like crazy. And it really is an exciting time for her and her bakery. It's like this little bakery in West Village. And now they've got this gorgeous cookbook, and it's selling like crazy, apparently. So if you go to Sister Pie and you want to know how Lisa makes all that great stuff, it's all in this book. So it's an exciting time and great to see a cookbook coming out of the Motor City.
It really is. And she was just in the current issue of Midwest Living magazine, like a multi-page spread with some of her recipes. And it's just so cool to see a small woman-owned business taking off like hers have.
Oh, yeah. It's this neighborhood bakery. And by the way, I have gone to the classes. I am afraid of the pie crust no more. I can do this. Anybody can do this. So
is there
it's
a
all
secret?
in there.
There's a couple little secrets, but yeah, you got to go to the class. Yeah.
No spoilers.
No, she's got it figured out. So it's really lovely and quite exciting. So in addition to that, there is a company called Pingree Detroit, and Pingree is named after the mayor of Detroit, Hazen S. Pingree, who was a bootmaker. He was a war vet. And Pingree Detroit, Jarrett Schloff, who launched this company, decided, I'm going to make shoes. So the first shoes are being made in Detroit since 1953, and the first sneakers ever. And what makes this really an interesting project and a great company is that Jarrett Schloff decided he was going to hire veterans who could not get work, teach them how to make these shoes. Now they're better than he is, apparently. And then they use, it's really awesome, and then they use leather that's discarded from the car companies. So all the leather that's used to make seats and steering wheels and what have you, that's the leather that they use to make wallets and tote bags and shoes. And so it's really like this multi-purpose little company that could, and you can go to pingreedetroit.com to find out, more about what they do and the stuff that they're selling. But it's, if you get like a pair of shoes, you'll get the name of the vet that made your shoes, and your shoes will be numbered. So it's this really, really cool company, and they'll get like these limited runs of a certain kind of leather from the car company, and so they'll only make like 25 of something, so you'll have just one of 25. So they're doing such great work in the Motor City. It's really an exciting time for them.
That is super all around. I mean, just to make shoes even in the U.S. is very unusual, and to have them right here in Detroit and know who made it and slap it on your feet and walk around town, that just feels good.
Yeah, for sure. And to be able to employ these folks, that's what's a big deal. And I do want to say one thing about these small companies in Detroit. Sometimes their price point is higher, and there's a reason for that, because they're trying to do it here, they're trying to do it right, and they're trying to pay people a living wage and take care of them. So that is why you'll see the price point on some of these smaller businesses sometimes be a little higher, because they're really trying to do things the right way and keep all of this stuff local.
Right. And I think you just have to look at it like, what is it worth to you? Is it worth it to you know where your things come from and that they were made by people that have a living wage and are, treated well, and, maybe just don't buy 3 pairs of shoes and buy 1 pair that really is meaningful.
Well, and not for nothing, one big online retailer had an opportunity to be a local business, and they turned us down.
So
I'm not mentioning any names.
Yep. Well, their loss.
Exactly.
And we have they have their loss, and we have a lot of great people doing some great work here, more than ever, which is really exciting. So, my attitude is buy local whenever you can. It is a stunning difference in the economy when that happens.
Absolutely. And, I was going to bring this up on my own, but since you're here and it just goes right into it, speaking of good local companies, Rebel Nell.
Yeah, they are amazing. Amy Peterson, finally she left her job with the Tigers she launched the company 5 years ago, but now, she has decided, what, I'm going to pay full-time attention to this. And they just hit $1 million in retail sales.
And they just hired their 20th woman through the program.
Yeah, they heard. Yeah, and they're really hiring, just like, Pingree is hiring veterans. Rebel now is getting women that are in shelters and getting them a pathway to independence and a skill. And they're really doing things the right way. And, Amy Peterson, has decided she wants to keep this in Detroit and do it that way. And so they have no lack of graffiti. She told me they've been collecting it like crazy. So they have tons of it. And now they're starting to get graffiti from other parts of the world as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's explain the concept behind the jewelry and how she makes it.
Yeah. So last time I was there, they had a big stack of graffiti from Flint that had been sent to them. But yeah, it's graffiti. They don't harvest it. It's graffiti that's fallen. The paint, the layers of paint that just weather and fall off, they get collected. And then there's a whole process that they have down to an art and a science that they peel away the layers. And there's this tremendous patterning and colors, of course, and every piece is unique. And then they cut those pieces and put them in a silver inlay and then put I think it's like a polymer type of coating over it, so it's all secure, and then put them on chains or on posts to make earrings. They have all kinds of jewelry, from bracelets to necklaces to earrings.
Amy was one of the first people we interviewed in this podcast very early on, I think even before you had joined, Becky.
Yeah.
And she was fantastic. I liked it so much that I actually wound up getting my girlfriend one of the Rebel Nell necklaces for
a gift. Yeah,
for a gift. And
they're beautiful and unique. And the last piece I got, I was able to go meet the woman who made it. And
that's cool.
That's really special. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so great. They just partnered with the, Ford and the train station and did a limited run of graffiti from the train station. They might have some pieces left, but those things went pretty quickly. But she was really excited about being able to do that. And, they're going to take it to the next level. They figured out a lot of things, and now they're going to expand as much as they can. And now they're being sold at, other parts of the country.
Yeah, all over.
Which is great. Yep. It's exciting for her. What a great Detroit export, It's wonderful.
And I want to mention they have items for men, too, so don't discount for the guys.
You guys can make pie and then wear Rebel Nell jewelry. You'll be very fashionable while you're making the perfect
a little
pie.
I'm all about it. Yeah, there you go. All right, Ann. Well, thank you for checking in. These are great recommendations. So we love hearing from you.
Thanks so much, you guys.
The Brief.
All right, Becky, let's check in with somebody else. Get another gift recommendation. These are suggestions from a lot of our friends who have come on the show repeatedly over the course of the last year. And so we figured we'd go to them and ask them for ideas of things that you can purchase locally, whether they're goods, whether they're services, whether they're a place to shop, and give for the holidays. It's the shop local thing, right?
Exactly. And I think we got a good cross-section of people with a lot of different ideas. So something for everybody.
Stopping by the show is Gary Graff. our listeners will know him. He's the music writer for the Oakland Press and Digital First Media. He's been a contributor to the New York Times Syndicate and Billboard Magazine. Gary, thank you for stopping by.
Oh, my pleasure. I get gifts for this, right?
You do.
Absolutely.
Since that's the topic.
Right. Hopefully you haven't heard anybody else's suggestions yet, so that's what we're getting you.
I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Right.
Well, look, if somebody is looking to shop local, is there a place that you recommend?
Besides Duluth Underwear, I'm actually very partial to in Clawson, a shop called Leon and Lulu. Just a really cool. It's where they used to have a roller rink in one building and a movie theater in the other, and it's these two buildings where you can get everything from a fountain for your living room to a pair of socks or an oven mitt with a rude message on it, books, lots of very hyper local Detroit stuff too, coasters for your drinks, books, other food products, all of that, plus really cool Art Deco furniture. It's got all sorts of stuff you can get. They've got a cafe where you can get a nice cup of coffee or hot chocolate or something and some baked goods. So it's a great shopping experience, in addition to being a place to buy really great and inventive gifts.
I love this place. I actually
Me
used
too.
to live a block from here. I was in the one apartment complex in Clawson is where I lived my first 3 years here in the Detroit area, and we would walk over there, and it's fantastic. You're absolutely right. That's
I know
perfect.
this is two men talking about this.
I love it. Well, that's funny because I have sent the men and boys in my life there. Like, they can't go wrong. If they ask me for Christmas hints, I'm like, just go to Leon and Lulu's,
You know what I have from there is the coasters that are like the heavy stone coasters that each one is a different scene from somewhere around the Detroit area.
Oh, yeah,
Those
like
are
the
great.
Fago sign.
Those are
and
great. And they have
Easterbrook.
Michigan
Yep.
stuff. I know you can get a mitten coaster.
Yes,
too,
definitely.
and all sorts of stuff. Great, a nice selection of books that changes quite a bit.
Yep. I love that place.
There's something, it's kind of like a really hip mini department store.
Yeah.
There's clothing to furniture.
And let me say this: if you're going there, I want to put in a plug just for the town of Clawson in general, because there's been a bunch of restaurants that have
There's some
opened
nice
up.
things. Restaurants. You have the Black Lotus Brewery on the corner there that has a live music room, and right next door to a golf simulation place.
The barbecue joint that's there,
Yes, Woodpile.
Yes, has not been there. It's only been there like 2 years. That's fantastic.
There's a comic book shop.
Yeah,
there's
There's a used music, CD
Yes,
record
yeah.
store
Yep.
on that block. No, it's just a lot of cool things.
We got to mention the sushi. The sushi
Oh,
there is
yeah.
fantastic, right there.
Noble Fish.
I'll take your
Noble
word.
Fish.
I'll take your word for it.
You're not a sushi eater?
guy.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, they expanded, and it's great.
Yeah, everybody keeps telling me that is the best place in the Detroit area to get sushi. And there's also a magic shop, which I am told is
I've
run
not
by
been in there.
a real magician. So,
The last person I know who went in there never came out.
Oh.
so there it is. So there's the plug. If you haven't spent a day in Clawson, go. And Lulu, I always want to say Lululemon. That's not right.
Totally different thing.
There goes your advertising
Not
contract.
local.
It's Leon and Lulu right there. Well, thanks, Gary. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Can't wait to see to unwrap my present.
All right. Happy holidays.
Welcome to the D.
Brave.
All right, let's get another gift recommendation. This one comes from a guy that we've had on the podcast several times now. He is the one who's always out hobnobbing with the stars, with the big
Yes,
celebrities.
like Mark Wahlberg and
George
Tom
Clooney.
Cruise.
He's like, oh yeah, Denzel and I go way back.
Yeah, so occasionally he makes a few minutes for us here
Right.
at the debrief.
Let's welcome movie man Greg Russell back to the show. How you doing, Greg?
Doing great, and you guys are by far my favorites.
Ah.
That's because our egos are so much smaller. Our
We
egos
keep
are-
it in check. Yeah.
Right. They're practically, mine's inverted, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Nil.
hey, we want to ask for a gift recommendation. Somebody is looking to shop local this holiday season. What do you got for us?
Well, some of the things I'd say, there's a T-shirt line that I'm involved with called Detroit Light. You can find them online, and it's a great Detroit T-shirt. In fact, that's the one I gave Mark Wahlberg. And the greatest part was normally, like if you give a celebrity something, you always wonder, are they really going to keep it or leave it or give it to their assistant? After I got done with the interview, I happened to be standing outside in front of the hotel, and all of a sudden I hear somebody yell, "Greg!" And I look over and there's Mark holding the T-shirt up in front of it. So it's like, all right. So yeah,
Nice.
you too can dress like Mark Wahlberg. So that's one recommendation.
So tell us the name again.
Yes, Detroit Light.
Got it.
And then another thing is, especially if you like to eat and like to go out, like I said, it's a place I know that you guys really enjoy going to, and so do I. But the Foundation Hotel in downtown Detroit, the apparatus room it's kind of like, adult Disneyland. You can go in, you can have conferences, you can get on your computer, you can meet friends, you can eat, you can just relax. And if any of you out there like hamburgers or love hamburgers, they've got a burger there that just melts in your mouth. It is delicious.
Now I'm hungry.
I know. So you can get someone you love a gift card to go dine out at the apparatus room. That would be very nice.
Yeah, and that hotel, you're right, is absolutely beautiful. This is the old fire station right there across from Cobo Hall.
Right.
If it's still called Cobo Hall at the time that we wind up releasing this episode.
Right, they're working on renaming, yeah.
And they've done a beautiful job turning it into this hotel. And you're right, that first floor, the apparatus room, is just amazing.
Feast for the senses.
Plus, they've got a podcast studio there in the lobby.
They do.
We should go podcast from there.
We should, and it's open to anybody.
I was going to say, I'm going to be doing one there as well. So, yeah, let's all meet up and do it down there.
Is this where you take the celebrities when they come to town, Greg? Is this where you hobnob with them?
That's actually something that we're working on now, so that, when we do get the celebrities coming into town, and most of them want to see what's going on in the city, we will have them down there. We can use the studio to do the interview. And then if they like, we can take them out, for a nice walk downtown. I loved it last year when the movie Detroit had junket here. And so a lot of my friends from all over the country who I normally just run into in LA or New York or various other places, they were in town, and I took them on a nice little walk tour. And, Becky, I know that you give tours as well, and especially for people who come from out of town, they're just so amazed when they see the city because it's not what they were always led to believe. They're always led to believe, the stuff that they see at movies. But everyone was like, oh, my gosh, this is beautiful. I want to come back here.
That's so true. My goal and almost is always realized on tours is to have people tell me their perceptions up front, and then at the end of the tour say, what'd you think? And it's usually something along the lines like, wow, I had no idea.
Right. So that's, just like you, that's what we want to continue to do. And, of course, another place where you've got to go if you come to Detroit is the home of Hitsville, USA, the Motown Museum.
Yes.
Go there. Go to the studio where Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, The Temptations, Diana Ross and the Supremes, Martha and the Vandellas, and so many others recorded, their songs, including the Jackson 5. You can stand right where Michael Jackson stood, singing "Stop the Love You Say May Be Your Own."
And it's a great place to go for gifts. They have a wonderful gift shop there with all kinds of Motown memorabilia.
Yeah, but not only that, we've talked about this multiple times on this show, is that for some reason, locals haven't gone to the Motown Museum.
So honestly, just buy a couple of tickets and take your local friend there.
So do that. If you have somebody who is from Detroit and has done one of these, I haven't been to the Motown Museum yet, it's time. And not just the Motown Museum, I mean Greenfield Village. If you haven't been to Greenfield Village since you went on your 5th grade field trip.
Or the zoo.
Right.
Yeah.
It is time to go back.
Historical museum. Yes. Absolutely. All those places have memberships, too, a gift membership.
Oh, yeah. So, well, Greg, thank you so much for checking in with us. These are some great gift ideas. We want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving and, of course, happy holidays. And, thanks for everything, man.
And happy holidays to both of you. I look forward to seeing you both in person very, very soon. Let's get together and have a hamburger at the Foundation.
That sounds wonderful. Well, cheers to the holiday season.
Take care, Greg.
You got it. Thank you both. Take care.
Bye.
I would like to say to the people of Detroit,
I can feel the difference.
Come down to Detroit.
The Detroit Institute of Arts.
The Detroit Zoo.
The Michigan Science Center.
Detroit Cocktail Classic.
The Arab American National Museum.
The Little Caesars Arena.
The Henry Ford.
Eastern Market.
The Cure Line.
The Detroit Derby Girls.
Motor City Brew Tours.
I think everybody can feel it.
It's a comeback story that everybody's been rooting for.
Detroit is moving.
And you're listening to The Debrief.
And you are listening to The Debrief.
The Debrief.
Debrief. The Debrief.
That's a pretty good list of suggestions we got there.
Oh my gosh, and I had such a big list myself, and a bunch of them were stolen.
Yeah, I know, right? Like Rebel Now, that was a great one.
Yeah, so this is wonderful.
All right, well, before we get out of here, let's go through ours because I think we've got a couple more to add.
Yeah, just add a few. I mean, we could be here for hours. I don't know that people realize how much great stuff is now made and crafted and sold here in Detroit. And you keep the local economy moving and supporting. And plus you get unique gifts with a story.
So you start.
So this is a newer place in Eastern Market. You know, I'm there a lot. There's a lot of great shops. I could probably do all my Christmas shopping just in Eastern Market. But I just wanted to point out the newest resident is called Thumbprint Gallery. And it's right next to Detroit City Distillery there. And she is a tiny little space, but she sells fair trade goods and handcrafted items, lots of candles, beaded things, picture frames made in Detroit from reclaimed wood, lots of just little interesting gifts, and it's not overwhelming. You can go in, they have doormats made from flip-flops, you know, and it's all from people that are earning a living wage by making these goods in a safe manner. So I wanted to mention them. They're in Eastern Market, Thumbprint Gallery.
All right, I'll throw in a suggestion here.
Okay.
There's, I love stand-up comedy. I love supporting the local stand-up comedy scene. There is a guy who is very, very funny. He's been on Conan O'Brien a number of times now, and he's from the Detroit area. He's actually made the journey out to Los Angeles, because this is what you do when you get to a certain level as a comedian. You go to New York, or you go to Los Angeles. But he put out an album earlier this year on Third Man Records, and they put it out as vinyl first.
Oh, right.
Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
His name is Brad Wenzel, Wenzel. The album is called Sweet Nothings. And this guy, he's really witty. He's really clever. If you like Dimitri Martin, if you like Mitch Hedberg, kind of those one-liner zingers.
Oh, sure.
Which I think is a very hard
thing to do.
Form of comedy to do, because you have to think of so many jokes. If you're going to do 15 minutes of comedy and it's a story,
you can fill the time.
That takes talent, but yes, it fills a certain amount of time. If everything's a one-liner, you've got to be
a lot of one-liners.
You got to be pretty good. And the stuff that this guy puts together, I would just never think of. So Brad Wenzel is absolutely fantastic. And of course, there's a million other ways to support local stand-up comedians. There's a lot of shows going on. We have a legendary comedy club here in Royal Oak. It's called Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. It's been around for decades. This is one of the places that a lot of the great comedians came through on their way up. But also, there's newer places like the Punchline over in Southfield. We had
One Night
Green
Stands
has One Night Stands, which just opened in Waterford.
Could buy people on your list tickets to a show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, 313 Comedy does free comedy shows every Sunday night over at the Detroit Shipping Company.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so you can go check out a comedy show there. So there's lots of great ways to support local stand-up comedians.
Yeah, and give somebody an experience. Yeah. Another place I wanted to mention is Ink Detroit. So this you can find on inkdetroit.com or thegreatlakestate.com, either way. But here's where you can get all your great Michigan and Detroit gear, your T-shirts, your hoodies, your hats, stickers, those kinds of things. And the reason I love them especially is because they are the company that Emily Gale chose to work with to do her official Emily Gale Say Nice Things About Detroit wear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So she, works with them, and they have exclusive rights to have the shirts that have her signature on them. So you can I have one of the comfiest black sweatshirts, crew neck sweatshirt. It says Say Nice Things About Detroit. It has Emily's signature there. They have T-shirts, really different things. So I think that's great for lots of people on your list, and of course all sizes, kids on up.
Right. I want to mention an author who is a little bit outside the city of Detroit, but she had a best-selling book in the last year or so called The Marsh King's Daughter.
Oh, this book went gangbusters.
I mean, huge. New York Times bestseller.
A friend that lives in London now was just saying she read it. It's everywhere.
This woman's name is Karen Dion, and I went out to interview her for this podcast.
Yeah.
And she actually said I was the first person from the Detroit Press
to
come visit her. But you're right. It's been an international bestseller.
Mm-hmm.
She had, copies that the publisher had sent her of her book in all these different languages.
Wow.
It was there in just a bunch of them. And she's like, I can't even read these languages. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but they're cool to just have a bookshelf
and
full of
what's
this.
really nice is she seems so just completely thrilled. It's like she's in her 60s, right?
Yeah, so
and had been writing a long time.
She'd been writing a long time. She'd been working with other writers and mentoring other writers, and she'd achieved some small success here and there. But this was far and away a massive breakthrough hit. And it happened just at a time when her husband was retiring. He'd done stuff that involved physical labor, and he was now getting to the age where, moving past that, and they, we're going to find. Then the book takes off. And it had been a whirlwind just for her to go through this. And talking to her about it, like you said, she was so down to earth, but she was also so sort of blown away by it. Mm-hmm. And then the big news came that they're actually working on turning this book into a movie. Yeah. Which has got to be really
awesome.
So next year we've got to check in with her and see where that project is and what's going on with it. But she was wonderful to sit down with. She gave me a copy of the book. I like audiobooks, right? And I was saving it for a while. Every year in the fall, my girlfriend and I, we make a trip out to Sleeping Bear Dunes. And so we listen to it on the drive out there.
Oh, perfect.
And you can understand why this was a bestseller. It was a page turner in audio form.
Right.
Because the basic premise of the book is it follows this girl, Helena, and her father kidnapped her mother. Right, her father's a little bit not right in the head. Kidnapped her mother and took her to the UP. Right, and the whole book is set in the Upper Peninsula. And normally a book like that would be told from the mother's point of view, the person who's being kidnapped. But this is actually told from the daughter's point of view. Mm-hmm. And they have the daughter, and the daughter doesn't know.
She doesn't know any different.
She doesn't know any different. She grows up, and grows up with just her father and her mother being the only other people in her life.
Yeah.
And she has no idea until she's, I don't know what it is, 15, 16, whatever,
Somehow.
No, I think it's even younger than that when she finally escapes.
Yeah.
And the story is told in parallel. It's told from the present day because the father was captured and sent to jail, and then he breaks out of jail. And I'm not spoiling anything here by telling you this. Yeah. And so there's one timeline where it's told present day as the father has escaped from jail, and then it's also told in these flashbacks to when she was a little girl and what she knew back then. Yeah. It is really, really well done. It is really well narrated by a woman named Emily Rankin. I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah.
And I'm super psyched to see the movie. So it's called The Marsh King's Daughter by Karen Dion.
Again, so many local bookstores we have here too, and I know they've all got it. So a place I like to go to have a huge selection of local gifts is something that happens every year. It's called the Detroit Urban Craft Fair. So this takes place this year. It's November 30th through December 2nd, so a weekend long. The first day, November 30th, is a Friday, and it's just at night, and that's kind of like the preview day, and there's live music and fun stuff to do. That's $10. Or if you go on the Saturday or Sunday, it's just $1 to get in. It's at the Masonic Temple. So it's already in this cool venue. And then you've got tons of local artists. I think they have at least 100 vendors, crafters, makers,
I will go to the Masonic Temple for anything. I love that building.
Yeah. And it's just from the very eclectic to the whimsical to the refined. You can get Detroit skateboards and Detroit-made lotions and candles and fiber art and stuffed animals and fun stuff, kooky stuff. Detroit Urban Craft Fair is like the perfect name for it. And I do so much of my shopping there, from big gifts to little tiny stocking stuffers. And then you get to meet the artists and the makers, manning their booths. So it's kind of like an indoor, super funky, cool art fair.
Cool. All right, one last suggestion, and that is you are part of a company called Feet on the Street Tours.
I am,
and you offer these walking tours of Eastern Market and some other neighborhoods around the Detroit area, and people can go check that out. And they absolutely should. These tours are fantastic. I know that my girlfriend and I went out to see the murals in the market one day. It was kind of like a last minute, like, I don't know, what do you want to do? Something? It's a nice day. It's going to get cold soon. Let's go see the murals in the market. And the murals were really cool. But we got about 5 minutes into it. We went, we need a tour guide to really explain, tell us the story.
And I ran
behind
into
it.
you
Right.
randomly, and I was just finishing up a tour with
Right.
friends, and
Yep.
I was like, you should have called me.
Yes, and my girlfriend said the same thing. So how can people, first of all, what are you doing with the tours?
Exactly.
And-
So we have public tours of Easter Market. We do one called Come Hungry, Leave Happy. That's a strolling brunch of Easter Market. And we really take you behind the scenes. So you meet the restaurant owners, the shop owners. You taste a lot of food, hear a lot of history, fun facts, definitely see the murals. So we have regular dates of those, at least one a month. But we also do a ton of customized private tours. So either way you want to go. But I sell gift certificates on the website. So you just go to enjoythed.com. On the homepage, there's a little link that says gift certificates. Just click on there, and we offer those that are good for a year. For anybody you want to give it to, they can get to choose their date of the Easter Market tour to come on. So that's a real great gift. It's an experience. So for the person who has everything, but you want to give them something fun to do, people love it. But you can also just call me up or email me and talk about organizing a private tour for your family and any kind of budget. We do driving, bus, walking, and we're going to be offering a Black Friday deal.
Oh.
Yeah. So that is going to go live this week, and you can save 20% on my Easter Market tours in December, January, February, and March. You can pick from those dates. And you can sign up for our emails to get that information, or you just go into any of those dates on my website, enjoythed.com, and enter the promo code SAVE, all caps, 20.
Save 20.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember that.
Yeah.
All right.
And we'll put it in our show notes too.
Yeah.
Give you all the scoop.
So we're going to put all this. I mean, there's been a lot of great suggestions here today.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We're going to put them up on our website. It is thedebriefdetroit.com, and you can find a list of everything there. You should sign up for the email list while you're there, because I know we talk about a lot of things in this show. I know sometimes it's hard to keep track of all the things, and
Right.
you were like, I heard about that.
Yeah,
What
where was
it?"
that again? Yeah.
If you sign up for our email list, we will email it to you every week so that you can keep track of everything. And frankly, you'll just look cooler than all your friends.
Definitely, you'll be in the know.
All right. Well, there it is. Please shop local, help local businesses, support local businesses. And Becky, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, enjoy the time. And we will talk to the rest of you next week. Until then, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
The D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.